foolish mortals.
Hello there. Are you insane? Get out of here!
Remain seated with your seatbelt fastened.
Right, off you go.
Welcome to Average Joe Orlando. Hello, theme park goers. Welcome to another episode of Average Joe Orlando. Today, for our not so average list, we're going to talk about our best roller coasters, at least my ranking, as well as some honorable mentions, weirdest, overrated. We'll give out some awards. I feel like I should call them the Roller Coaster Awards. Maybe that is a better name. Anyway, I have been to up to 45 theme parks on three different continents. Unfortunately, still have a lot of coasters to see, a lot of theme parks to go to. Definitely ones that you hear about are amazing, and then you ride them and you're like, meh. Or ones that you are just like, wow, that was not what I expected. So these I'm going off of anything that I've experienced because that's the best way to rank them is by riding it yourself. You could definitely see a roller coaster, hear about a roller coaster, ride it, and then go, that's not what I thought, or never heard of one. I know there's a few on this list that, one especially, that I will get to, that I've never heard of, rode it, and went, what the heck was that? And already have an extra plan to go back. So let's dive in. And of course, we're going to start at Orlando because, hello, Average Joe Orlando. And we're going to start at my favorite Orlando theme park, Universal. So Universal has a lot of great coasters. At the time of this recording, I have not been to Epic yet, so I can't rate Stardust Racers or the How to Train Your Dragon coaster or the Werewolf coaster. I'm curious, heard mixed things, so I am curious. Stardust looks pretty cool, but I'm going to go on three of them that I know that I've been on, and my first one is going to be Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. Yeah, that's the whole ride. That's the Hagrid coaster. So if you could ever get on the Hagrid coaster, I highly recommend it. It is fantastic. I went one of the first weeks that it opened, got there around 8 o'clock in the morning, waited about 4 hours, rode it at noon, went home, had to take care of the pets, cool off, showered, changed, went back, waited 4 hours, rode it again at night. Now, it's not really open at night much, or at least in the dark, especially with the summer hours. But if you can ride it at night, I highly recommend it. It's fantastic. And as the trees are growing in, it even looks better because now it actually looks like you're going through the forest. I recommend. There's two different riding experiences. It's not like Tron. It's not a motorbike where you're leaning forward uncomfortably. Spoiler, that is not on this list. That should be for Overrated, but we'll just ignore that one. But for Hagrid, you enter on a moving platform, you walk across to get into the bike. You could sit up or lean forward. It's totally up to you. And then there's a sidecar, so it's two different experiences, which is great. There are different show elements in it. At this point, spoiler alert, you've been warned. You go backwards, the track drops. It goes extremely fast in sections. There's animatronics. So there's a storyline, not a crazy storyline. You're going out to a class at Hagrid's, and then he sends you back, and then things happen, and there's a pre-show that's never on anymore with Mr. Weasley. I remember when it first opened, you'd go into the pre-show. Now you just kind of walk through it, but there was a whole pre-show filmed. I don't know why they don't. I know for maybe efficiency, but at the end of the day, there's a long queue after it, so it's not holding up anything. But enough rambling about Hagrid's. It's great. What's also great is Velocicoaster. It's also great because it's just one word and not 12. But the Velocicoaster opened during COVID, and it's amazing. Universal opened a roller coaster in the middle of COVID and took 5 years to build Tron. Wow, I'm really ranking on Tron today. It's just not good. Velocicoaster is one of those rides that just keeps getting faster as you go. And it's a great theming, great ride. The animatronics and the queue are fantastic. The ride is great because it starts off in the paddock, and then when you think it's about to slow down, it actually just picks up. The restraints are really cool and unique, and I think that's what makes it so great, is that it's not one of the over-the-head harnesses where your neck is between it. It's a lot of freedom, it feels like, so it still comes down over you but goes over your waist, which is great for that barrel roll, or as they call it, not osmosis roll, that wouldn't be a thing. There's the roll at the end, which is like the dinosaur, and I could see him now. It's the one that eats like the sharks. Anyway, at the end is the barrel roll scene. It's a great ride. So 2 of them for Islands of Adventure. They have other coasters there. They have the Hulk at Islands, but that gives me a headache, and I kind of black out. I don't know, anybody else ever like black out on a coaster where you just like start seeing spots and you could hear things and you're awake, but you just can't see? Just me. That's a problem. And then at the other park, I would rank the Mummy definitely as my third one for Universal at the moment. Now, the Mummy is an indoor coaster. There is the Mummy roller coaster that I've also been on in Universal Hollywood. Not as good. This one's definitely the better of the two. So I'm glad we got it in Orlando. The theming is kind of all over the place. You're at the set of the Mummy, but it's kind of a museum, and the curse is real, and you need the gift of the Magi, and then you get it at the end. But another one that goes, I guess I'm a sucker for going forwards and backwards, and a launch. And then I love, in the middle of the ride, it has the fake load station, and then there's an animatronic, and the whole room catches on fire. It's a great themed roller coaster, but it's also really fast and fun. Unique car, unique everything. Great ride. And it ends with Brendan Fraser. So right there, should be top of the list. Over at Disney World, they have a few coasters. They have Everest, which is fine. A little basic. It's good. Space Mountain, old, Tron. But I'm going to only put one of them on the list, one Disney World. Disney World's not really known for their coasters. They're known for buying them and then kind of modifying them. Oh, and Rock and Roller Coaster, also not great. And then, speaking of, they buy it and modify it and kind of put their own tweaks on it. And it's kind of just always meh. They don't really do coasters. I would say they do theme rides, but there hasn't been a really great theme ride in a while either. I don't know what they do. But Disney, wow, I'm ragging on Disney today. Guardians of the Galaxy, let's just get to it. Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind will be my one for this list for best coasters. It's great. It is a really good coaster. The theme is a little wonky. I get what we're doing because, there's 3 or 4 pre-shows you have to go through, which is annoying. But then once you get on the ride, you don't really know what's happening. And honestly, I don't really care. Just play me some good music and let's spin controlled and have fun. I didn't really need the storyline, I feel like. Obviously, there has to be a storyline because it's Disney and they have to throw the Guardians in it. But without them there, a coaster through space with great music is honestly all you really need. It is weird, too. They did, for the first year, a holiday overlay with a Christmas song and never came back. Don't know why. So SeaWorld Orlando has a ton of coasters. But only one of them made this list because only one of them I really like. All the other ones are kind of throwaway coasters to me. And that's going to be Mako. Mako, the shark-themed roller coaster. So that is the tallest, I believe, still in Orlando. And it is just an out and back, up and down coaster. Small restraint in the front. And super smooth, lots of air time. No frills. They like to throw these ones on now that's like, oh, this one goes backwards, and this one you're standing up, and then this one you're laying down, and this one you go through a show scene. Sometimes they try to do that with SeaWorld, and you're like, just give me a good coaster and some good theming. And this is just great. Mako. We are going to leave Orlando now and travel up to Hershey Park in Hershey, Pennsylvania. This one has a ton of coasters. The place I actually went to my first looping coaster, the Super Duper Looper, which is a one loop coaster, and it just has a lap bar, and it's still open today. They have a lot of great coasters there in general. I was lucky enough to go again recently, I think a year ago, and got to go on some more, and I got one of my new favorites now is there. And ironically, it was one of my least favorites, but they retracked it and made it into a hybrid. And that's Wildcat's Revenge. So the Wildcat roller coaster was a wooden coaster, and it was showing its age. Wooden coasters, as you know, if you've been on any, are rough and rocky. And I remember the last time I rode this before it got retracted to the hybrid, it was rough, and it was definitely showing its age. And I love that they're kind of saving these wooden coasters, and then instead they're putting on the metal track, and then it could do all these crazy wild things. The Wildcat's Revenge is wild, and it holds you upside down a lot of times. There's a lot of air time, also a lot of upside down time. It is literally just nonstop. These hybrid coasters are fantastic, and Wildcat's Revenge is definitely top of the list for one of the new hybrid coasters. Just shows what they could do with it, and it's fun that it still has the same footprint. They have to deter from it a bit because the old coaster definitely had limitations when the new steel one can definitely do a lot more. which will lead me to my next one because it's interesting. I went on this next one first. Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens Tampa. Coaster park, tons of great coasters, lots of great contenders. However, Iron Gwazi, ridiculous. The first drop is insane. It's one of those. Iron Gwazi was called Gwazi back in the day, and it was a dueling wooden coaster. And then they closed one side for a long time, and they just had one side opened. And I remember going on it and being like, ow, this is rough. And it was the same thing. It sat there for a long time. It just kind of sat there empty, and nobody knew what was happening. And then they reopened it as Iron Gwazi and completely retracted it and did a whole new layout. The opening drop is huge. I rode with one of my friends, and she had pigtails that day. And I remember half the ride, they were just in the air because you were upside down for so much of this ride. And it's just like shots of you just upside down, holding you while you're flying through the air. And it was great. And then later on, I went over to Busch Gardens, and I was like, okay, let's try the Wildcats Revenge. Now Iron Gwazi. No, I actually liked it better, actually. I watched a YouTuber that actually had the opposite feelings, so it really depends what you like. But either way, they're both fantastic coasters. I'm going to go over to Busch Gardens, Virginia, the better of the two. Busch Gardens, Virginia is in Williamsburg. It's a better themed park. It's beautiful park, always ranked one of the most beautiful parks. Dollywood also is up there too, but I think Busch Gardens is better. And they have some great coasters there. And they keep building new ones. They're really good at theming them, except for the one on my list, or one of them on my list, Pantheon. Pantheon, fantastic. Theming, there's none. So Pantheon is kind of like if you've been on Icebreaker at SeaWorld, but gigantic. And I guess since it's the same company, they were like, we'll take two, a big one and a small one. And we're going to do minimal theming. And unfortunately, it doesn't have big theming, but it looks like the new one will this year. But Pantheon is one of those coasters where it launches you forwards, and then the track switches behind you, and then instead of making it over the first hill, you roll backwards and then climb up a different hill and then get launched again. So, crazy ride system. This one was fantastic. Super fast and well themed and smooth. Just no theming, which is a shame because everything at Busch Gardens Williamsburg is well themed. And their newest one coming out, which we'll talk about a little later, the Big Bad Wolf, which is kind of a recreation of their old coaster. They have done some great theming around it. So it's nice to see that they're throwing money back into it. It'd be interesting if they ever go back to Pantheon and start adding some kind of theming, because right now it kind of looks like a coaster in a cow pasture. But when you look beyond that and say, okay, I'm not here for the theming, I'm just here for the thrills, Pantheon is fantastic. Another one that is fantastic at that park is Verbolten. Now, at the beginning, Verbolten, I was very against. I was like, this one replaced the Big Bad Wolf. How dare you get rid of that ride? I remember that from my childhood. Now, I did learn that the Big Bad Wolf, that was the swinging under ride, and we'd go through this like village set, and just a fun ride. But it was old, and they didn't make the parts for it anymore, so the maintenance was kind of getting impossible and expensive. So they had no choice to take it down. It wasn't because it wasn't popular. It was just because they couldn't maintain it any longer. So that ride had to go. So this new ride pays homage to it. And the ending part is the same footprint where it goes down and swerves over the lake. This ride came before Hagrid's. And the theming is you are on a car. You're in the Germany section of the park. And you're on a car going through the Black Forest. Now the Black Forest you don't want to go into. It's mysterious. And you have to brave the Black Forest. And it goes into a show building similar to Hagrid's, and the ride track drops and then launches you on another track. So first time I ever did that. Very cool. Fun theming. They also have a car that I think is called like Bad Wolf, Big Bad Baby Wolf. So they do some other things to the old ride, but a really fun themed ride with a great show scene. One of those rides you kind of want to ride with the lights on, because it starts outside, goes inside, ends outside. But also you might ruin it because I don't know how much is really in that room except for some maybe curtains and some lighting. But Verbolten, another great one. Now you can't talk about roller coasters without talking about Cedar Point. And Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio is the roller coaster capital of the world. Crazy amount of coasters, always adding new ones. Still know how they keep fitting them in. However, I didn't want to list them all, and I didn't want to list every single one. I could do a whole episode on Cedar Point, really. Ooh, write that down. Cedar Point episode. Now, I haven't been there in a few years, and I'm thinking about roller coasters that you go on, and it gives you something that you didn't expect. Now, you've definitely been on rides where you go on them, and you're like, oh, that was rough, or that was kind of boring, or that was kind of slow, or that wasn't the greatest, or that was short. But then you go on rides where you're like, that did something unexpected, that moved differently, that was wild, that was fast, that was long, that was well themed. And that's what I want this list to be. So for Cedar Point, for me, that was Maverick. Now, Maverick was a ride that I remember riding with my friends, and we didn't know much about it. We just knew it was an orange track. And this reminded me of kind of a Cheetah Hunt style, where it launches you in the car, and the car kind of whips you in all different directions and holds you upside down. And it was one of those that caught me completely off guard. Can't really see a lot of the track from the entrance, kind of not like Millennium Force, where you know what you're about to get into. You're going to go up and down. It's going to go there. It's going to come back. That's about it. This one kind of took you by surprise, and that's why Maverick made this list. My next one is over at Dollywood, and I'll preface it by saying that this run I rode before they changed it, and that's why it went on the list, so I'm curious to rewrite it. But Lightning Rod. Now, Lightning Rod was a launching, wooden coaster. And it would like launch you up the hill. So a wooden coaster built into the side of the mountain, super well themed, and the lift hill would like lightning you up to the top. Now, they had a lot of issues with that, as you would expect, because a lot of wear and tear, a lot of issues. The ride would be down more than it was up. So eventually they did redo the lift hill, but they kept the base of the ride. The rest of the ride is all the same. So I don't know how much the novelty of that kind of wore off by losing that in Lightning Rod. However, the rest of the ride was fantastic and an overall great wooden coaster. And yeah, definitely made the list, at least from what I remember, because I remember running to that ride first thing in the morning, getting in the line, and going on the Lightning Rod. So I was really impressed by that one. The next one is going to be another one of those hybrid coasters that I love talking about, apparently. And it'll be the last one, I promise, that I put on here. I'm sure there's other ones out there. Is at King's Dominion, Twisted Timbers. Now, this was, I don't know if I've rode this before or after Iron Gwazi. Either way, I was like, dang, that's a good ride. My one and only time at King's Dominion was kind of a mixed bag. There were some ones that I rode and I was like, that was great. Other ones where I blacked out. Other ones where I said this was terrible. Another one that I said that was uncomfortable. Another one that I said that was unique. So a lot of all over the place rides. And this one I remember riding towards the end of the day and I was just wiped out. I'm like, we did a lot of coasters. Maybe I'm getting old. And then I rode this one. I said, no. I got it. This one's great. So Twisted Timbers. I guess I'm just a fan of those hybrid ones. But we'll head over to California, over to Disneyland. And Disneyland did make the list. I was trying to think about ones I've been on, which ones are great. And honestly, the Incredicoaster holds up. So the Incredicoaster didn't open as the Incredicoaster, but when it was the original ride, it was more of a carnival theme, still a long coaster. And now the Incredicoaster, they have a cute theme with it, cute music with it, cute storyline, and a long coaster. I was over there earlier this year, and I forgot that you go all the way out to one side of the pier, come back, and then go all the way back out again. I'm doing with my arms right now. I'm showing you there and back. You can't tell because this is a podcast. But it was a great coaster, and one of that I was like, oh, that actually holds up. There's one loop in there. Didn't really need it, but that's okay. I rode it one time, and the audio didn't work for some reason, and I was like, oh, you're going to lose the storyline. And yeah, you lose the storyline. And yeah, you don't hear music, but it was still a good coaster. And I was like, wow, a coaster that can lose its whole like show elements and still be good deserves this list. Jumping over to Europe, in Phantasialand in Germany. I actually have two on that list from there. So the first one is Terran. Now, Terran is a super themed coaster. Launches, goes through all these rocks, intertwined. If you haven't ever seen anything about Phantasialand, look it up. It is a super well-themed, over-the-top park. And this was the one that I was like, I have to run to this first thing. Now, they had another one in there that I was like, I guess I'll do this one. I'll ride it by myself. I don't know what's coming in. I think it's a spinning indoor roller coaster. And I still to this day don't know what happened. You go inside this building, and it's an older building. Now, if you don't know anything about Phantasialand, it's very landlocked. So it's good size, but not gigantic. And they keep on having to demolish rides to make new rides. And that happened with this one, or will happen around it. And I hope this one doesn't get lost. So now this is Whinges, Fear, and Force. And they have 2 sides to it. And I rode one of them. And all I remember is I got in the car and you seat 2 by 2 back to back. And I was backwards. And all of a sudden it like went up a lift hill, launched, threw you out into this big building, spinning. Then you go inside another one and it goes up and down around, and then the track moves and spins. And I was like, I still can't describe what happened. I remember I got off the ride and I was like, I don't know what I just did, but it was a long wait, so I didn't want to go back. I do have plans though to go back to Phantasialand, and I want to ride it, and I want to try both sides, and I want to figure out what it is, because I just remember that was one of those coasters that you go on and you go, what the heck just happened? And it was good. And before we get into some of my other rankings, let's talk about honorable mentions. I thought about a few that were great, but didn't make the list just because it's been so long. I don't know how I feel about them. So Nitro at Six Flags Great Adventure. Remember riding that as a kid. Remember being like, that's a great one. Remember riding Mako now more recently, going, wow, that reminds me of Nitro. So honorable mention there. Also at Six Flags Magic Mountain. I don't think it's open anymore, but it's a Superman ride. So I was lucky enough to ride it. And that was that one that, if you could even call it a roller coaster, a lot of debate over that, where it kind of just launches you up the hill, and then kind of you have 0 G's, and then you come back down. So some people are like, that's not really a coaster. It's categorized as one, so it gets an honorable mention as one, but it was unique. And that's what I remember going, wow, completely weightless. And the last one on the list, Disneyland Paris is Space Mountain. On the list because, on the honorable mention list, because it's great, and every time I go on it, it's fun. Probably one of the best Space Mountains, but overall, not the best. Not something you make a trip out of too. You go there for Phantom Manor. Now let's talk about overall, the most overrated, the weirdest, the best theme, the most unique, the one I missed the most, and the worst. So I would say the most overrated. Actually, let's save that one for we'll do that one now. Overrated Pipeline at SeaWorld. First off, they just knocked down their whole Christmas section to build it, so I was already bitter against it. Secondly, it's a standing coaster. Nobody does that anymore. And third, it just bounces up and down, so you just kind of hit yourself in the crotch the whole time. It's not comfortable. It's not good. It's not comfortable. SeaWorld touts it as, wow, look at this. We have this first of its kind. Why would I have a surfing coaster? It's overrated. Don't do it. The weirdest one I've ever been on, Blazing Fury at Dollywood. And if you've ever been on it, you're like, oh yeah, I get it. It's an old indoor coaster where half the coaster is kind of just wooden, and you go around these different show scenes where things are like fake on fire, and then it turns to a roller coaster. You don't know it's weird. YouTube it. It's confusing. It's weird. Definitely unique. Best themed, I'd say, is Baron 1898, and this is at the Efteling Park in the Netherlands. And Baron is a drop coaster that holds you over the edge, and you hold there and then you go down. So you've seen this coaster before. However, this one has a great theme behind it, has its own soundtrack, has an animatronic in the queue, has a show scene before you even go up the lift hill. It's just a fantastic themed coaster. For the most unique, I'm going to say Reptilian, and that was over at King's Dominion. Reptilian is a toboggan coaster. Never seen a coaster like that. Did one at Efteling years ago, but it's gone now. But to me, this is one that you really don't see anymore. Toboggan coaster. So very unique. The worst coaster I've ever been on, that I would say, is Flight of Fear, also at King's Dominion. This is a launch indoor coaster that is rough. If you've ever been in a cardboard box and rolled down the stairs, that's probably what it felt like. I remember I went on this ride, sat in the front, said, why are all the attractions attendants standing behind a gate? And then it launches you, and then the whole time, I just wanted it to be over. And that's when you know it's a bad ride, when the whole time you're just thinking, wow, I can't wait for this ride to be over. And for the one I missed the most, Big Bad Wolf. I touched on it earlier over at Williamsburg. However, this summer, a new version of the Big Bad Wolf opened. While it's a little bit different than the old one, I'm still excited that it's paying homage to the original, and we're kind of getting a little bit of the Big Bad Wolf back, because that is definitely the one I missed the most. Anyway, I hope you either learned something, had something on the list, maybe agree with some, don't agree, have new ones to add, because I'm always looking to have new ones to add, because I want to keep riding more roller coasters. And thanks for listening. I will see you at the park.
Thanks for taking a ride with Average Joe Orlando.
You made it!
I knew you would. Is everyone okay? Hope you still want to open an account.
Say cheese! See you later!
Thanks, everybody. You were brilliant.
At this time, gather up your personal belongings and take your small grubs by their grubby little hands as you exit. Thank you.